Hey guys, it's 45 here. For today's video, I played Bayonetta, and it's the most I've raged on the game in a while. Like, I was losing my sanity. After finishing Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, I thought I'd give PlatinumGames' other action-adventure game a try, and it resulted in my mental state deteriorating. More effort was put into this video than my last few, so I hope you guys enjoy.
Smashing!
So like I stated earlier, after Metal Gear Rising, I wanted to try more hack and slash adventure games like Devil May Cry, and the center of today's video, Bayonetta. I actually had no clue at first Bayonetta was developed by PlatinumGames until I started playing, but I could tell it was from them just from the vibe the game gives off. It's just as zany as Metal Gear Rising and I love it, as well as the art style and combat being very similar to Metal Gear Rising as well. I also learned via a comment on my Metal Gear Rising DLC video that Nier Automata is also co-developed by PlatinumGames along with Square Enix, so Raiden, Bayonetta, and 2B are like the PlatinumGames holy trinity. So all I have to say is expect Devil May Cry and Nier Automata videos in the future. Shout out to the See You in Another Life brother, who commented and suggested trying out the Devil May Cry and Nier Automata games, especially since these games are all on sale right now at the time of me writing the script due to the Steam Summer Sale. Bayonetta was released on October 29th, 2009, making it older than Rising, and was available on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and wasn't made available for PC until 2017. Once again, sharing the same problem with Metal Gear Rising and its stupid camera controls. You can tell it was made for consoles and the way it handles. I said this last time, but it's just the fate of most early 2000s to 2010 games that were released on consoles for the first time, before getting a PC port later on. The controls can just be wonky at times since they're centered around, controllers. While developed by PlatinumGames, it was published by hence why all the games can be found on Nintendo consoles, and the later two games being Nintendo console exclusives. But PlayStation 4 and Xbox One didn't get the first game until 2020. Like what? That's like 11 years later, and they're just now getting the game. Like, would people even care at that point? I feel like in that amount of time, they could have found an alternate way to play it. The main team behind the game, however, is Team Little Angels, which is a play on the name of the team who developed the first Devil May Cry game, Team Little Devils, which is honestly so cool because both Devil May Cry and Bayonetta have the same director, Hideki. I'll put the name up on screen. I'm not great at pronouncing foreign names. But basically, they share a lot when it comes to characteristics, both with flamboyant protagonists and combo systems, and just overall presentation. I believe Dante and Bayonetta even both had a death battle episode, if I'm correct. Alright, now, the game starts off with this slideshow opening, showing glimpses of Bayonetta's history, which later in the game we'll have more context for. It leads into the title sequence that then takes us to the main menu. Of course, gotta check the options to make sure everything's in order. We then get put into a prologue semi-tutorial where we fight as Bayonetta alongside a character named John, as a narrative voice tells us the history of the Bayonetta world, explaining that there was once two clans, the Lumen Sages and the Umbra Witches, who both preserved the balance of light and dark in the world. And despite their titles, they weren't at odds with one another and actually had much respect for each other, until one day, both clans were thrown into a war from an unknown event that we'll learn later. This war resulted in the Lumen Sages coming out on top and leaving all the Umbra Witches to flee across Europe, where they were all hunted and killed in their real-life witch hunts, except for one, which you can probably guess who it was. We are then gifted the Umbra Tears of Blood item, and it cuts to present day where inside the plane there's what looks like 10 seats of Lumen Sages or priests with robes performing some type of ritual with John watching from afar. The ritual summons an angel as it looks like. We then start the first chapter, or prologue technically. It opens in the graveyard during a rainy day where a character named Enzo and a nun are putting a guy to rest. Enzo speaks poorly about the man as the nun prays, and he continues to ramble on how important their jobs are, and how these jobs can also earn them a pretty penny, flashing his rings. He really got that drip on him. I wouldn't call Enzo a douche or a bad person. He does have kids who love him after all, so much they made him a cake for his birthday today for when he gets home. But yeah, the Enzo is definitely more entertaining than annoying. Then we see it, the light of heaven showering down upon us. They've come to claim this man's soul and bring him to the pearly gates. The angels descend and the nun jumps up gracefully to them. Then from the casket emerges Rodin. No, it's Rodin, right? Oh god, I don't want to go on mispronouncing names again like I did in my Metal Gear Rising video. Like I remember, it's Rodin. Yeah, it's Rodin. I swear his name's Rodin. Rodin is a badass in a game full of badasses. He serves as the game's store in his shop, the Gates of Hell, where he sells techniques, weapons, treasures, items, and other goodies. He has these nice little slideshows when you enter, where he'll say a line before you get to shopping. My favorite is the one where he tells Bayonetta he wouldn't mount a chainsaw on her arm.
No matter how much you ask, I'm not putting a chainsaw on your arm. So what do you want?
which Bayo then goes, fine, I'll do it myself, and has one handy to use in the climax you can perform on flying enemies. The nun then has a average anime girl moment when her nun attire gets ripped, exposing her body to reveal the one and only Bayonetta. There's only one person can look this good kicking Angel behind, but since she's in America, she's missing one vital component. It's so funny to see something as holy as Angels being slaughtered by simple firearms, and Rodine just has to keep throwing her stockpiles of guns because they keep running out of ammo. Rodine then pulls out a lollipop and throws it to Bayonetta, which she takes and proceeds to smack on the Angels with it in her mouth, which is kind of gross, I'm not gonna lie. Like, that thing just came out of her coffin uncovered. Like, if it still had the wrap on it, I would understand, but like, it doesn't. It was just a exposed lollipop in the coffin. That's We didn't get thrown into gameplay, but not before the game finally gives us the tutorial. In it, the game shows us how to punch and kick. Yeah, that's it. From there, they just say to do the rest on your own. They still give you a list of combos still on the screen to try out. We have barrage combos, launch combos, heavy combos, etc. There are so many different combinations of the punch and kick button, I couldn't go through all of them. And even though those two are main combo starters, there's some other ways to mix things up. Like I mentioned earlier, you can purchase techniques from Rodine's shop, which unlocks new moves and new ways to perform them. For example, some techniques may require you to move in a certain direction before pressing one of the attack buttons. I forgot the name of it, but one technique I bought needed me to shuffle back and then forward and then press attack to activate. And others will require you to hold shift before attacking to make a sort of dodge counter. So the combat system can get as deep as you make it. You could just spam left and right click fully for your combos, or you could do as many different moves and techniques as possible to get the edge on your opponents. But how could I bypass the famous switch time? What is switch time, you ask? You know how in Smash Bros, Bayonetta has that counter that slows down the opponent? Well, it's that. Dodge is the shift button, and when you dodge and move right before it's about to hit you, you'll perfect dodge, and it activates switch time, which slows everyone down, or I guess speeds you up, and puts you in a big advantage state. How long which time lasts depends on how much magic gauge you have, which you earn from performing combos. I know the Smash comparison was a little silly, but it's true, and that's where a lot of people know Bayo from. I even used to main her early on. In fact, playing this game made me realize how accurately they portrayed her in Smash with her moveset. Like, she feels ripped straight out of the original game for her attacks and combos. Like, even the detail with holding down the attack button to shoot bullets is just chef's kiss. Almost forgot to mention you can also twirl your mouse, yes, twirl your mouse IRL, by doing a circular motion with it, then attack to do these cool spin attacks in game to shoot your opponents. I don't know how this feature worked on console. I'm guessing you spin around one of the sticks before attacking or something. If anyone knows how in the comments, please tell me. I'd love to know more on how Bayonetta played originally on consoles. After that Red Room tutorial though, Enzo gets snatched by Angel. We have to jump after him, and the game shows us how to long jump and double jump. In Bayonetta, there was quite a bit of platforming, enough to the point where there are a lot of parkour sections to get around. But you have much more movement options compared to Metal Gear Rising, where you just jumped and had ninja run, which is still why I'm salty about the platformer section in Wolf's DLC. But anyway, right after we learn to jump, we fall right on Enzo's car, and Bayonetta's face is just everything. After beating up some more angels, we finish the fight and get our after battle score. The game takes into account how much damage you dealt, how much damage you received, and how long it took for you to complete the encounter, ranking each category from Stone Award to Pure Platinum Award. The levels go as follow: Stone, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Pure Platinum, with each trophy representing a different character. For example, the Stone Awards has Enzo, and the Platinum and above has Bayonetta. After putting all those into account, you get your total score, which would be one of the levels mentioned. These are tracked throughout the whole game as well as all the chapters, and well, mine doesn't look great, but that's for later. After all the shenanigans, Enzo is forced to drive Bayonetta in his damaged car. To this cutscene is where we get some insight into Bayonetta's backstory. It is revealed that she woke up in a coffin at the bottom of the lake and has no memories of herself except that she's a witch and must sacrifice angels every day or she'll be forced back to hell. A main character that wakes up at a body of water with amnesia. Bayonetta's main goals right now are recover her memories and find the other half to the stone that rests on her chest. Bayonetta then notices Enzo has a tracking device stuck to his car before throwing it away, but it seems it's too late, getting into a car crash that flings him into the air. Bayonetta enters witch time, leaving Enzo frozen while she takes care of the culprits, which to no surprise are angels, but also more surprisingly, Jean, who breaks out the plane and assists Bayonetta in slaughtering them. Yes, slaughtering, because that's what this game is is basically is stylized slaughtering, which they cover the stylized part no problem with some JoJo-like poses before facing each other at gunpoint, which time then dispatches for a moment as a truck flies by and John disappears. Then we see her again fly off into the sky, which is such a funny shot. Like, they have moments like this where all the time where there's just two witches just swiftly and gracefully flying upwards. Bayonetta then enters regular time and saves Enzo. Cuts to us inside Rodin's shop where Bayo and him are discussing the events that transpired. Rodin states that the human world, Inferno, and Paradiso are all starting to become hard to tell apart, as they've all been so intertwined as of recent. Bayonetta also mentions Purgatorio, just a place Bayonetta enters either sometimes in combat or wandering around the map. In the state, she turns transparent, as do all the humans around here. The wiki states it's a place she enters when she needs to fight angels without causing much damage to the human realm. If you are familiar already, you'll see that these planes of existence all come from the Divine Comedy, which you'll most likely know for Dante's Inferno. Rodin then gives Bale her iconic 4 pistols, which I can only guess have infinite ammo, probably due to magic. As iconic as they aren't the only weapons Bayonetta can use throughout the game. As mentioned earlier, you can purchase different weapons from Rodin's shop, much cooler weapons like my favorites as a katana and elemental gauntlets. And that concludes the prologue. I thought it was a good setup to the game's story and combat system, but most importantly, tone. You can tell this game just oozes personality, and you're gonna be in for a trip, which I definitely was. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you've been waiting for, Angel Attack. What is Angel Attack, you ask? After every chapter, you get to play a minigame called, well, what I just said. In it, you have to shoot, surprise, surprise, angels in a carnival game-esque fashion to earn points. The points you earn being used to buy heals and items for next chapter, or can be converted to the in-game currency. It's a fun break to do in between chapters to earn rewards, and I appreciate its implement. If I didn't suck balls at it, that is. Now, being real, yes, I find it fun, but I would fumble so hard and get so little points where at most, on average, I could get a small or big green herb lollipop, or in some cases not enough points to even get that, and I would just have to convert my points to money. As time went on, I did learn how to better land shots, with me using my mouse flicking techniques and not trying to shoot like a normal FPS game. I don't know, comment down below the best way to hit the angel targets, cause I sure struggled. I then entered chapter 1, and while we're here, I want to point out how the game shows off the different chapters via this board game setup. Every time you enter a new chapter, Bayonetta's little doll piece is moved to the next spot on the map, which I think is a really cool narrative feature. It highlights your progress, seeing how far you've come on the game board. The little Bayonetta piece is also very cute. The chapter opens with Enzo explaining to Bayonetta that he found a lead in Vigrid? Yes, it's pronounced Vigrid, I hope. Vigrid, Europe, about a stone called the Right Eye, giving us a visual of a map showing Bayonetta traveling there, which is funny to imagine Bayonetta on a plane and train trip. Even though I know she can conceal herself from humans for a free ride, I can just picture her trying to squeeze into a small plane or train seat while looking out the window. Or I guess not, since we shortly see her on it after another flashback. Those have got to be some huge seats considering Bayonetta is like 8 feet tall. Then there's the opening title sequence of Bayonetta feeling herself before quickly cut short by a mysterious voice talking about how his child, Bayonetta, will awaken the eyes of the world. Something that will become common throughout the game, of this man giving monologues in Bayonetta's head. Who is this mysterious man? We will find out, not soon, but later. We then arrive to the Vigrid station, where we can take control of Bayonetta again and make our way to the next objective. This is where I got introduced to the more gamey parts of the game, if that makes sense. Talking to NPCs or just spooking them since I'm in Purgatorio, hitting pots and other environmental structures to get heals, small amounts of money and other items, and of course a random puzzle to complete during the level. Classic games days. Now I don't want to waste too much time explaining almost every detail, both in gameplay and story beats, as not only does it make this production of this video more efficient, but encourages you to pick up the game for yourself and experience it your way. So just real quick, I'm gonna explain some more features that I found in this opening part of the game. With the introduction of items that you can collect by destroying various parts of the environment, you can use these items you find to craft lollipops instead of buying them from the Rodin shop. You need at least 10 of specific type of item in order to craft one of the lollipops. So for a green healing lollipop, you need 10 green herbs, and for a bloody rose lollipop, you need 10 of the red thingies. I don't remember what they're called, and they stack. So if you have 20 green herbs, you can craft 2 green lollipops. Then there's the files category, where there are different books where you can read up on different things from the game, like items, techniques, notes, and enemies. The Angel book, for example, showcases all the different Angel enemy types you faced and gives a quick lore summary on what they are. Then there's torture attacks where you can activate on enemies when at full witch orb meter to do huge damage or outright kill a foe, as well as the witch time puzzles, which require you to go up to these Umbra and Lumen statues and perfect dodge a bolt of lightning to activate witch time in order to achieve a goal. In this first instance is to be fast enough to walk across the water. We didn't make it to another part of the station where Rodin appears and explains how some places on Earth are closer to Paradiso Inferno, and how Vigorate is very close to the former. So he tells Bayonetta how getting angel rings can be used as a currency for a shop. I only bring this up because during the scene Rodin and Bayonetta have a quick conflict, and Bayonetta drops one of the best lines ever in gaming.
If you get in my way, I will... How do the Americans put it? Oh yes, bust a cap in yo ass.
Afterwards, we end up in the garden area of the station, which I've never seen in a train station, like have a garden area with a well before. Maybe it's a Europe thing, but it looks beautiful. I would like to be at a train station that looks like this. At least where I'm at in America, I have never seen something like that. In this garden, we encounter a new enemy type, Plod. Some of these, going forth, this is a warning, some of these angel names I might struggle to pronounce. I'm gonna struggle to pronounce a lot of them. Oh, why am I yawning? It's 2 p.m. Ow, I just hit my leg. Applauds are like the normal angel enemies, but bigger. Killing one can grant you their weapon, which, damn it, is another thing I forgot to info up. Basically, some enemy types drop the weapons they use when they die, which you can use against other foes for a short time until the weapon breaks. I think it's a fun way to mix up the combat, and it makes it rewarding to take down those enemy types that drop the weapons. And not even just that, but certain items you can use as a weapon too. It's not exclusive to dropping from an enemy, like a key for example. We then get a mini boss at the end of all this in Beloved, which I don't know about you, but when I look at it, the last thing I think is Beloved. Like, damn, the baby face. It appears so much on so many of these bosses and enemies, I hate it. They even make baby noises when fighting them. Like, what's their thing with babies? I know in like a lot of like, you know, angelic paintings, you know, you often see naked babies and stuff, so I'm sure it's connected to that, but it's like, why? Probably something to do with like babies being pure and stuff. I just hate it. I hate all the babies. Now these type of bosses aren't too bad since they got that Resident Evil obvious red glowing weak spot. So the fight is just dodge attacks and then jump on their back and whack the giant back acne. It was so easy and fun early on until it got progressively worse at the game. Like you think that my skill would rise, but I feel like that didn't happen for me. This is where we get our first climax, however. Oh my god, oh, or whatever it is she says. And the mashing sections from this are a lot harder than I thought. Like I'd be burning my finger on the E key for these things. Successfully mashing all the orbs gives you a bonus amount of money though upon defeating it. Upon defeating it, we get its battle axe and the Choice Marches Military's record. The game has a bunch of these different record features which when found can be used to unlock new weapons. They're usually found in fragments though, so you have to collect like 2 or 3 before having the full version to unlock the weapon that comes with it. We didn't enter an area that puts us into a flashback to Bayonetta's good old Umbra Witch days, where she and the other 2 witches are being attacked by one of the Abomination Angels. I mean, just look at it. Sadly, our 2 witch companions both perish and left us to continue the rest of the fight, which we do before the angels head out and returns us to the present, where we get attacked again on the bridge by another angel with a face only a holy mother could love. We gotta destroy its hands since its main thing is grabbing onto the structures we're on in order to attack us. In the climax, we bring in our monster elephant thing to of course chop on it and drag it into the portal where the angel tries to grab onto Bayonetta and gets smacked away. I don't blame him though. With that though, ends chapter 1. It was a good chapter, methinks. It introduced a bunch of new mechanics and such that will be prominent in the rest of the game. Just 15 more chapters to go. Yay. Man, I hope this video isn't poorly paced. Thanks to the record we got earlier, we obtained the Onyx Rose weapons, which are just 2 shotguns that work how you expect shotguns to. Big pumps of damage at closer range. To use weapons in this game is pretty unique. You have 4 slots and you can equip whichever weapon you want to on each one. For example, with the Onyx Roses, I can equip them on the first 2 slots at the top and leave the default guns equipped at the bottom, which drastically mixes up how combat goes and what combos you can dish out. out. It's honestly so cool. I can have the shotguns replace all my weapon slots and just use them as well. This system works best, however, when you have 2 of the same weapon equipped at the top 2 slots and vice versa with the bottom. Having 4 different weapons in all 4 slots doesn't really work how you think it would, but nonetheless, it's still a really fire mechanic, and again, makes the combat engaging and fun as you find different combos and weapons to use for your preferred playstyle. Chapter 2 then opens with another surprise appearance from John, who comes in on a motorcycle that was riding on top of a bunch of angels, slaying them all while riding it, and also slaying in this scene. Yes, John, we love you. Afterwards, Bayo and John talk about the past and Bayonetta's lack of remembrance towards it. How John knows Bayonetta, but Bayonetta can't seem to remember her. John then shows her New York pickpocket skills in when she pulls out Bayonetta's amulet from her chest, which have been missing this whole scene, showing how even though they look like equals, John is still a big chunk ahead of Bayonetta. At least currently. It's very much giving Jetstream Sam. Sean then mentions the 2 overseers, the eyes of the world, foreshadowing what's to come later in the game. It then cuts to a flashback where Jean is selected heir to the Umbra Witch clan and must choose an opponent for battle, to where of course she chooses past Bayonetta, and we enter a combat encounter. It introduces the witch wall walking mechanic while in winch time, which is pretty cool. You and John basically fight on the wall. I barely survived with like 10 health points, Jesus Christ. And I stay on low health once the flashback is over. Like, come on, man, that shouldn't count. It's in the past. We then encounter more angels and deer and decorations. These guys aren't too bad, besides the terrifying baby face, of course. Decorations are weak and take like 1 to 2 hits to kill. Afterwards, we make our way to a town where there's a hooded man on the run from the authorities. You probably think there's going to be some mysterious high aura dude, but nah, it's just Luca. He stopped joining when he passes this woman so he can show off his level 100 wrist skills. What did I just write down, bro? What? It's not worth the joke anymore to like be saying this stuff. He fumbles pretty bad, but also succeeds in a way too, I guess. She got the rose. I find it funny though how he lifts up his scarf and just falls right back down immediately. Let me actually introduce Luca to you all though. Luca is one of my favorite characters next to Shareza, who isn't important right now. But for those who know, he's on those levels for me. Luca and Bayonetta have a long history, as when Luca was a child, Luca and his father were there when Bayonetta first awoken from her long slumber, and her supposedly being the reason Luca's father died on that same day due to her awakening. I just love young Luca, bro. He's so cute. Like the little father he does is just adorable. Even though he's screaming that because his dad is dying, and it's sad, it's sad, but it's also cute. The scene shows up a lot, by the way, since it's a huge plot point for Luca throughout the game to uncover the mystery of Bayonetta and his father's death. But I've heard baby Luca say, "Father," so many times. It's just so funny and cute. So since Bayonetta is linked to that traumatic day, Luca has spent the rest of his life following Bayonetta and trying to piece together everything that has to do with her. Since he, like his father, is a journalist, he can semi-interact with Bayonetta by hearing, smelling, and seeing her through mirrors and being able to be touched by her while she's in Purgatorio. He tries to snap a pic of her and fails as they talk, and Bayonetta calls him Cheshire, a cute little nickname, but also take note of it, it comes into play later. Angels then show up and must be dealt with. It is then we meet another new enemy, Enchant, which are these wheel spinning things. Skipping ahead some, since this area is mostly enemy fights. During one of them, they must have dropped another record, I don't know, but I unlocked a new weapon, the Shabira. It's this cool sword that basically becomes my main upper hand weapon throughout the rest of the game. Nothing else could just satisfy me like she could. Fast forward to more and I get stuck at this one witch time puzzle. I don't know why this happens to me across like all games. I don't know, I think it happens to everyone, but I'll always get stuck at some puzzle or spot wondering what I am possibly supposed to do, and I'll look it up just for it to be in plain sight or just required like 1% more brain power. So like the puzzle, or I guess more obstacle goals, I have to activate the statue to shoot down the lightning. You guys know how this works. But once in witch time, you gotta run over to this bridge and hit it until it falls, just like all the other magical walls in the game, which I haven't talked about at all, but yes, it's these things you have to attack in order to get through or have them transform. Then once it falls, you're supposed to run across it before it reforms, which I thought was easy peasy, you know. Time is slowed and I can run across in no time. Easy puzzle. But the bridge will always reform before I could get across. I'm wondering what's wrong. Why can't I cross in time? Am I not fast enough? Do you have to start running very quickly after you activate the lightning? No. I'm just gonna play a clip of one of my attempts and I want you to guess what I was doing wrong. Go ahead, just take a look. What's wrong here? If you didn't get it either, then thank God you're just like me and I'm I'm not alone in my stupidity. All you have to do is literally just walk over to the bridge, then activate witch time since you have a grace period before the lightning hits. I would just activate it in an instant, forgetting that fact. Like someone out there that's played the game, please tell me the same thing has happened to you. I can't be the only one. Bayonetta then enters the temple where she finds the little girl all alone. This little girl is the best character in the game, by the way. I want to say more, but she shows up so briefly, so I'll save my info up for later when she shows up again. Abruptly after this though is another boss fight which we defeat, and then move on to chapter 3 that picks up right after the boss is defeated. Then another giant angel shows up. This angel, like a lot of the others throughout the game, tried to talk to Bayonetta in this very calm and fancy way, and she just has none of it. Like they'll speak to her like, "My child, Bayonetta, are thou responsible for the killing of these angels? Please let us engage in conversation so we can shut up lols. L plus ratio plus your breath stinks plus you're the next boss." And they always just take it. Like just say the most disrespectful thing and they'll just respond with the utmost respect, like they're in the wrong for whatever they said. Like even here, Bayonetta throws something at bro and he just keeps going. Like he wasn't handed disrespect on a silver platter. And even once you defeated them as a boss and they're being dragged down to hell, they'll still have manners and not an ounce of anger in their voices, or I guess anger in their subtitles, because this is what they sound like.
Like gabba gabba. Yabba da sabba dabba, you baba baba.
He then sets the whole town ablaze, which, what about the inhabitants? Like imagine out the blue you're chilling and your town just suddenly turns into a mouth of a volcano. Flash forward for more enemies in the area, we get to this really cool wall climbing part where there's a bunch of lava flows in and we have to traverse by walking on the side of the buildings, climbing down on rock and then back on buildings again. Then at the end just book it from the big wave of lava coming. There's a QTE at the end I failed because I didn't expect it and had to restart. That happens to me a lot. Like I'll just be chilling, then boom, I gotta press E. And the windows for it are so small, if you don't press E in that nanosecond you're just dead. We then enter these catacombs where you have to enter a portal to another plane to get this hourglass that rewinds time to fix a broken bridge in order to get across, as you do in gaming. We get out, see some nice sights, including the burning village. Why did I say that? We see some nice sights, including this burning village. And that is chapter 3. Chapter 4 opens in the Colosseum we arrived at after the catacombs, and run into the angel Bayonetta was disrespecting earlier, who is known as Fortitudo. I think that's how it's pronounced. Fortitudo, Fortnite. The next boss fight. I don't know why I keep trying to be hype. He's the next, okay?
I'm sorry. I forgot to mention one of the reasons I hunt your kind. You're much too ugly not to put out of your misery.
Why you bully me?
This fight really marks my decline of gameplay insanity and sets the tone of frustration that follows for the rest of my recording session. This fight was just so hard and tedious for me, I don't know why. When the guy shoots off a fireball, I will almost never dodge it in time. It breaking the pillars into the lava was so infuriating, because I wouldn't even be up there for long before being plunged into chaos. Then once I was at the bottom, I kept botching the traversal and falling to the lava and taking damage, while I already gotta avoid more incoming attacks. So I'll get hit by the lava and then hit by another attack because of the stupid camera angles where I can't see anything properly. Then, on top of all that, I gotta make my way through the lava, which I'm falling in because I suck to make my way to the weak point on the boss, which I get to hit for like 2 seconds before he moves to another location. This will also be a good time to bring up the death screen, which might as well be my longtime best friend, who I knew everything about with how much I've seen it. When Bayo dies, a flock of rose petals will come onto screen transitioning to the full death menu, where the text, "The witch hunts are over," appears, then moves to Bayo dead on the floor in this blue room with a light beaming down on her, and the option to whether you want to continue or not, and a tally of how many times you have died in one sitting indicated by a skull. But what really gets me is when you click yes to continue, there's a voice line of the woman who says, and I cannot describe to you how ingrained into my brain this line is. It tortured me throughout the whole game, having to hear that again and again when I died multiple times, not only during this fight, but others. It just starts doing something to a man. Then, on top of hearing that voice, I have to see my skull count rise up, which I knew would affect my overall score for the chapter. Like, if you die more than like once or twice, you can say goodbye to any chance of even getting a decent rating. Me and that Enzo trophy are locked in. Then finally, the skull count only goes up to 5. So if you die more than 5 times, it doesn't even count it. It's a mockery that one should be ashamed for dying more than 5 times at any point in the chapter. Like it literally just stops counting. It's like, oh, you just keep dying, you know. It's like, bro, it makes you feel terrible. Oh my god. Jesus. But back to the boss fight. When you do get to him, however, you can grab this hourglass stuck in the ground, which resets everything and puts you back at the top. Do enough damage and it'll jump away and cause damage to the ground all over again, making the pillars fall. You gotta avoid this by jumping from rock to rock in witch time, then grab it by one of its dragon heads and pulling a rules of nature on that thing and flipping it around like it's a pickaxe. A lot of the boss fights in this game remind me of Metal Gear actually. Bayonetta tosses these angels around so much is amazing. The dragon's head will then detach and the fight will continue as normal. This would have been so much easier if it wasn't for the lava playing a key factor in the fight. I always take so much damage from that session because of the lava and fireballs. Like this fight is just me beaming for the hourglass and the second I hit the floor, panicking like I'm a cockroach running from a mom with a slipper. I then finally after a while get off its second head, which goes into the second phase where the guy rises up the whole coliseum into the sky, leaving it in ruins. And Bayonetta risks it all to get her lollipop that fell, which is just too real. There's nothing more unsatisfying than having that flavor abruptly disappear from your mouth. If that's ever happened to you, you're like, it could not just lollipop, any piece of sweet or candy, and you know, you just mess up and it falls out your mouth and you didn't get to finish it all the way, and you know that tasteful flavor that was just in your mouth is just abruptly gone now. You know. Phase 2 is much more easier than earlier, as all you gotta do is dodge some pretty easy attacks from the guy who didn't hit his weak point, which takes much more damage than the dragon heads. For the climax, Bayo summons a giant bird that just pecks away at this guy's face until there's nothing but a hole. Then Bayo rides in on a giant rock, hitting other smaller giant rocks so that they all hit the angel when witch time stops. Some Dio type of tactics, you know. The angel's in like, wow, it's true what they say, you really are strong. And Bayonetta's like, who's that? He doesn't even elaborate and just gets dragged away, womp womp. We then get another instance of the mysterious voice calling Bayonetta his sweet child, and the chapter ends. Chapter 5 opens with Bayo stuck in some valley where we end up fighting the new enemy types, Grace and Glory. More like Piss and Pori. Though these guys suck. They move around like a dog when their owner is trying to get something out their mouth. It was so hard for me to dodge their attacks, you just move around too much. And they show up constantly throughout the game and they always piss me off without fail. They do however drop their weapons when they die, which is usually when you kill one you can use the weapon to more easily defeat the other. So kinda balances out. Bayonetta then finds her lipstick just randomly on the ground and goes to pick it up, but it was a trap set by Luca to get snaps of her, and it fails because she turns invisible. She then draws on Luca's face with it. It looks like a little kitty cat. Wait a minute. Foreshadowing. Look, if you know, you know. I'm sorry. How did Luca even get here, bro? Like, what? We just saw what Bayonetta went through to end up here, so how the heck did Luca follow her or find out where she was? Does he have like a tracking chip implemented in her upper left cheek or something? Putting my theories aside, Luca tells Bayonetta once again how he knows she's the killer of his dad, and he is following her to steal whatever it is she's trying to get, as well as exposure to the rest of the world that she's real, all without stooping to her level. Bayo then walks up to Luca and he says this really dumb line.
Whoa. What are you gonna do? Kill me in plain sight?
Like, bro, what do you mean? There's nobody here. What? She was approaching him to push him out of the way of danger, to which she takes the opportunity to you see the screen. Grabbing the cake of your dad's supposed killer is wild, bro. Then I don't know if I can even show the rest of this part. Also, get all your wish it was me and other down bad comments out now. We know. He then sniffs his hand. He then sniffs his hands or puts it to his lips or something. I can't defend this, Luca, at least not publicly. Like, what? Like, bro, come on. Oh my god. He gets better later on, guys, trust me. But before I can even process everything, we gotta fight Fearless. No, not the Fortnite YouTuber who disappeared, but the angel monster. We didn't run into this diode that when cranked just turns into nighttime, which, okay, that's a pretty OP device just laying around. Like, imagine stumbling upon that. You just twist it and it instantly changes the time of day. That's just there. That's just something you can use. We use it to have the moon out so we can have the wall walking ability and walk up this thing with a hole. We jump through to get to another area. Good luck catching up to that, Luca. We then encounter Harmony, which is the flying enemy type of this game, the ones with the chainsaw torture attack. We then make our way up to some stairs, open the door by jumping on a button really hard, and enter a place I won't even attempt to pronounce. Get introduced to Ardors, who's this sword and shield enemy, beat him, Moon comes out, I run up the tower, avoiding obstacles and enemies, just everyone. I'm zooming. We then gotta open up this door by going up in this room to do the lightning challenge, not before these dudes show up though. We make our way up this snake looking road and I peep some hidden items on the way up where I get the final piece of the sonate disc I've been collecting up to this point. And grants the Duraga weapons, which also become my new main weapons for the bottom slots. They work just like the Grace and Glory enemies, with them being orange and blue and having the powers of fire and lightning. It's really cool. Okay, I'm coming back to this part of the script after reading its description. From when I unlocked them, it turns out Dogra contains the soul of, well, a demon named Dugra, who had 1,000 arms apparently, and these weapons have nothing to do with Grace and Glory. They're just similar. Okay, on to the next part. The bridge then starts to crumble and break, and Bayonetta and who is that? And Bayonetta makes it off just as it falls, then revealing inspired. Inspired by what? The fight isn't too bad. You just gotta dodge. When it swings in, then you can counter it by getting on its back, having Bayonetta summon a giant heel to stomp it out for big damage. The climax then sees the return of the bird, because the boss is like a snake worm, get it? It gets swallowed up. And yeah, that's about it. We didn't make our way up a tower and he immediately shows up again. Talk about undermining the boss that fast, like dang. Like he's already a normal enemy type in that amount of time. Then another guy shows up and breaks the bridge. Lucky she's here to talk though, but not to us, but to John, as she tells the dude that she's gonna complete this operation her way. Showing her and the angel seem to be working together against Bayonetta. John brings up her and Bayonetta's history again, about how they fought back in the day, and well, they're gonna do it again. They fight in the cutscene before it switches to gameplay. And I just gotta leave some time for you guys to see this. It's one of the most absurd fights I've seen and I love it. I'm also listening to the only thing I know for real while I was writing this part of the script, and it just fits too well. Because of fighting your rival who's a mirror of your thing going on. The gameplay part of the fight is very well done too. The set piece actually changed areas because of all the rumble flying around, which keeps things really engaging, especially with the rain. The world of Bayonetta has to be in shambles though, because this happens so often throughout the game. Just different places being absolutely destroyed, rubble flying everywhere. Imagine again chilling in your village in the mountains and you look out your window and you see a piece of a boulder the size of a building flying down onto you. It's insane. Fights with John are also cool because you have the power to counter her attacks too. But unlike other bosses, she fights back. If you don't spam hard enough and reach above like 4 orbs, then John wins the class and you take damage. It's just a really cool mechanic where it's like you actually have to put in effort towards that. I just think it's cool. We defeat her to what she says that wasn't good enough and I'm still not ready. It was a test, because of course it is. She then skedaddles, transforming to 3 different animals on her way out. A jaguar, I think, or some type of panther, I don't know. A flock of butterflies, and a bird. These are known as the Beast Within form, which is just now a new gameplay mechanic after John did them. Bayonetta must be a visual learner, because now we just have the ability to do it after John did it. So we hit the Jungle Beast, Spirit Unleashed, and turned into the Panther, which is honestly the base form you use the most. The others are kind of relevant sometimes. I can't even explain them now until they show up because I legit don't remember what they're used for. The Panther, however, I used all the time, even when the situation didn't call for it. I just love the speed. It's a great traversal option. Bayonetta then unleashes her inner fury and has a shot in front of the moon. End of chapter 5. The Panther then immediately comes into play during chapter 6, where there's a puzzle that has you run over 3 tiles with the Panther in order to open the door. Once inside, we see again that little girl from earlier and Bayonetta pursues. We have to get through more inspireds in a freaking death trap that somehow the little girl got through. Like what? We get through that and some more enemies before we see her on the other side of the bridge entering another part of the building. We have to fight more angels before we can cross to get to her, and it's like dang, this girl better have the best Girl Scout cookies for all the troubles we're going through. And then the bridge breaks, because of course it does, but it's okay because we go into beast mode. Once we break in, we find the girl surrounded by angels, just Bayonetta of course quickly and suddenly the patches of. Like there's not one fight scene I don't find amusing.
Come on. Cheating on me, haven't you? Someone else caught your eye?
Yes, Bayonetta, I must confess, I've been taking an interest in Devil May Cry. Bayonetta then grabs the child and we get a good look at her before she activates this protective dome around the girl while she fights the angels. It's the run-of-the-mill protect this thing where you lose, you know, type of gameplay thing. Angels will try to attack the orb while you're fighting and you gotta watch out for it. And then finally, we defeat them and I can properly introduce who the girl is. This, everyone, is Cereza. Two things you need to know about her is she calls Bayonetta her mummy.
Will you quit calling me mummy?
I'm listening. We're all waiting. And you're doing nothing.
She's crying because Bayonetta doesn't know how to handle children and proves that by telling her to stop crying, where we learn Bayonetta's two biggest fears: crying babies and cockroaches. To which she says a crying baby cockroach should be a disastrous thing. And then she looks down to check the floor for one. She asks where Cereza is from, to which she answers her house. Based. She says her daddy told her to come here and that he's absent at work. Quite the father you have there, huh? Bayonetta also gets her weave snatched. One thing you might have noticed is that Cereza and Bayonetta look very similar. I'm not going to elaborate on that, you just gotta keep watching. We didn't take off with Cereza because of course we're not going to leave a child here all alone. I also gotta point out Cereza's walking animation, so she follows you. It's so cute, bro. I can't, like her little waddle. It is so adorable. I love it. We didn't make our way through a tunnel where a monster is chasing us and we have to throw items at it while it chases us and tries to break through Cereza's barrier. We make it to the end where the thing is just kind of stuck, like he can't make it through. There's a gates of hell stop here too, where the other beasts within come into play finally. You have to purchase the techniques separately in order to use them, which is why the panther form is the only one that really matters. With the bat within, you can mitigate any damage by pressing shift right after you've been attacked, which is just so hard to time because the shift is also the dodge button. So you can't be too soon to where you just perfect dodge, but you also can't be too late where you just dodge after being hit. It's so hard to get the timing down. Crow within just lets you fly for a short time by pressing shift twice while in the air. It also summons some feathers that shoot out at enemies like you're in some mini attack helicopter. I can see it being useful if you get overwhelmed and need to get in the air for a moment while also having some offense. We then enter this portal that leads to a flipped light dimension, which is just casually here apparently for us to go through. Again, the Bayonetta world is just, it just has the stuff laying around that any wandering traveler can just stumble upon, bro. And of course there are angels we must take out, and then we encounter the monster that was chasing us earlier that got stuck, and this seems to be this dimension's version of it. And it breaks free and grabs Cereza, to which it immediately becomes infatuated by her cuteness, taking her and hooking her on its mouth for safekeeping. Bayonetta, of course, isn't gonna have this, and we take down the thing by giving it back shots. Like, I'll write the something down for comedic effect, and then when it's actually time to do the voiceover, I'll get like caught off guard by it, bro. It's like we take the thing down by giving it back shots. Like in the moment, it's like funny writing it down. Then you realize you actually have to say that out loud, like in a mic to people that are gonna be watching. Oh my god, that's gonna happen a lot. Like if you ever see me just laughing, like it's because of that. After back shots, we climax, and Cereza falls back into Bayonetta's arms, and the angel's last sight is Cereza's disapproval. Tragic. At least Cereza is safe with Bayonetta now. Except nope, that isn't Bayonetta. It's a imposter! We gotta chase her, and funny thing is, if you fail, she gets away and you get a game over screen. But instead of Bayonetta on the floor, it's Chester, which is pretty funny. When you do catch up, however, the two Bayonettas have a zest off. They have a zest off to show off their dominance, and the imposter Bayonetta loses and crashes out and reveals her true form, an angel called Joy. Cause yeah, who wouldn't get joy from some of that? Like, bro, can I even show this? Her cat area is literally glowing. How can these guys talk about sin with angels like this dude? This enemy type is pretty special though, not for the reasons you think, but that it rivals Bayonetta in the zest department, and is really the only humanoid angel we see. Fight commences and Joy has the ability to clone itself, which is a very annoying ability, especially when you're fighting more than one and they split off into pairs. We defeat it and go back through the portal to the human world, to which we find Cereza, who in turn has found Luca. The gang's all here, and of course Luca's just taken aback by this, like, a child? You?
Do I look like I have any interest in children? Now making them, well, that's another story.
Whoa, whoa! You're getting the wrong idea. I mean, it might be the right idea, but not right now, right?
Bro, what the heck was that exchange?
I'm glad I've been standing around waiting for you, because I knew we'd cross paths.
Luca then again confirms his stalker status because again, how did he find us? How did he escape the place we last left him? How? He knew where we'd be and stood there waiting for us. Dude must have Paisley Park from JoJo Part 8. You should read it, by the way, if you haven't. He then comes to the conclusion that Bayonetta killed her parents too, and that's why she's alone. The three of them then split after angels attack the bridge, and it's revealed Teresa can see Bayonetta when she's in Purgatorio somehow. That closes off chapter 6 and we enter chapter 7, where we are once again greeted by Temperantia. He appeared earlier but wasn't named. I hate this guy because of his stupid voice and stupid voice lines. We get some more lore drops when he states that Bayonetta's sacrifice will be what's needed to restore the trinity of light, darkness, and chaos. Enough yapping though, it's boss fight time. Once again, I hate this enemy type because of its stupid voice lines that are engraved into my brainstem. His "come on, never." Whenever you fight this guy, because yes, he does show up again, the battle basically boils down to avoiding him shooting you, then avoid his punch, all while he spews out those repetitive voice lines. And then of course you hit his weak spots on his arms and dome whenever it gets close. Once weak enough, you climax on one of its arms to tear it off and do the same for the other once weak enough again. Then to get to the head, you gotta break 2 more dome spots for the head's force field to open up, which of course it stretches up like that because these things are horrific. Its last stand to defend itself is firing eye and forehead beams while you pummel it to death. He can also gobble you up, which is just a terrifying sight, and I never spun my mouth so hard in my life to get out of that. Finally, in the climax, it gets absolutely pummeled to the point his face comes off, which just leaves him looking like a barnacle. The one dog angel tries to sneak away and gets snatched and thrown by Bayo, which is pretty funny. It hits a truck and slams into the guy, to which Bayo throws a baby statue and the guy gets peed on with gasoline. Please tell me I can show that statue without my video being taken down. And then from that, it gets blown up, causing more collateral damage to the Bayonetta universe, then dragged away to hell with the rest. Bayo has another headache flashback and we see another dog trying to sneak away. He's almost successful, then gets pancaked, poor thing. Like, that actually broke my heart a little bit, I don't know why. Then there's a shot of Jean on the rooftop and the chapter closes. Chapter 8 is titled Route 666 because it takes place primarily on a road, where a military base is trying to stop an unidentified vehicle from entering Fruit's gates. A vehicle that holds Luca and Cereza. Luca just putting this small child who he sympathizes with in danger as he swerves across a highway in this armored vehicle. Don't get me wrong, I love Luca and Cereza's misadventures, but come on man, you're breaking into a military base of a child. Bayonetta chases after them and aids in them breaking into the base by having them use another vehicle as a ramp. And like that, Luca has successfully committed a federal crime, I can only assume. I'm not knowledgeable in that space, but if anybody is, please comment what kind of charges you would receive for, you know, taking a stolen armored vehicle and driving headfirst into this that's protected area. They then start to get shot at because, you know, they broke into a military base, but turns out angels are also here because they're really the main threat. And now we get a really cool set piece of fighting them on the road on top of various vehicles. You jump from car to car to take down angels, and for some reason my mind just goes to that one Gang Beast map that has like all the driving trucks and you're on top of it too, and you have to try and push people down. After that, we take to the road itself to fight some joys, and in this section you can get run over by the oncoming vehicles. It's insane. And then I kid you not, a car angel called Irink is introduced. Wheels of Fortune looking eye. We get this really cool gameplay sequence, however, where Bayonetta gets a motorcycle and starts it with her middle finger and rides down the rest of the road dodging enemies and obstacles. You can jump and shoot while on it, and it takes you all around this road with it braking and you jumping from one road to another, then defying gravity and driving alongside this metal stripe, and it just makes for this really fun and frankly quite chaotic sequence. We didn't meet the Braves, who confuse themselves into one big brave for a mini boss. Is it still jumping a person if they all combine into one being? Shedding light on the real questions of life here. Bridge then collapses and Bayonetta falls into a portal, ending off chapter 8, where in chapter 9 we see where she ends up and her saying this can't be. I'm assuming it's Paradiso. It even has a clock platform from the beginning of the game. We do some platforming to this garden area, fight some angels, get a key and use it to unlock this orb with a statue on top to unlock this golden road, and make our way to the top to fight more angels for another key that unlocks another golden road that leads to another snake road, where oh no, giant ball that you must run from. Even though running from a giant ball definitely isn't the most fresh trope, the section was actually pretty started engaging, because during it, the same lightning from the witch statue shoot down and you gotta dodge to enter witch time in order to stay far ahead of the ball, which keeps you on your toes. You know, you gotta perfectly dodge it so time is slowed down so you can more easily get ahead of it, and it's just really fun. From that, we enter this section where there are keys scattered across different chests in the area, and you must open them to find all the keys, while the giant spear thing is constantly trying to flatten you. I remember this section really well because of how annoying it was for me, to the point where when I wrote it on the script, I did most of it from memory without even needing to look back at the footage, because it was just engraved into my mind, like how much I was raging from this. Okay, so what's so tedious about this section anyway? So remember how I told you there's already a constant threat in the giant ball slamming on you from the sky, but also while key hunting in the chest, enemies can pop out, so not only do you have to fight them, you have to do it while also trying to dodge this freaking dome. It doesn't help Grace and Glory show up while I'm dodging around worried about their speed. I gotta try not to be turned into a pancake, which you can, by the way. I can't lie, it makes the section pretty funny the way Bayonetta comedically becomes paper flat and has to inflate herself back to normal. But back to being negative, just trying to open the chest is annoying, since in this game, these big chests have to be hit on multiple times before they burst open. So I'm doing that while hoping I don't get flattened, just to open it and be jumped. The ball can crush enemies, but I don't think it does any damage and just slows them down. Yeah, just to put it plainly, this section sucked and was slow. Finally, I beat this godforsaken section and gather all the keys to form one key that allows me to escape this wasteland. I barely get time to breathe though, as a new enemy called Kinship, get it? Cause yeah, appears, and holy moly, suck my toey. These things are more annoying than the last section. 3 of them appear and they shoot off these missiles from their back, and they move at the speed of light. Like talking right after they fire them off, they're at your face within 2 nanoseconds. On top of that, they do big daddy damage for no reason. And it's really just those missiles that's the problem. Like if they went slower or was just absent, I'd be fine. You also gotta parkour yourself across all 3 kinships in the area, one by one, and take them down. And as you can tell by the tone of my voice, it was not a great experience. Like I'm getting shot at by these flash speed missiles while also trying to jump on its back to hit its weak spot. Then once on this ship, they have more attacks to protect themselves while you try to hit their weak spot. So I'm getting smacked from all directions, and you gotta repeat this process until all of them are gone. I rage quit during that recording session. Like I had to leave and come back the next day. You can see it right here during the footage. I literally left mid-fight. This however would turn out to be a dire mistake, as when I returned the next day and started up my game and clicked play, instead of spawning me at some checkpoint for where I last was, I was thrown back to the start of the entire chapter. Words cannot describe the feeling I had when this happened. I had to redo everything up until that point. Everything.
I'm sick of it. I am sick.
And this is only the first in the series of major setbacks that happened while trying to make this damn video about a tall, skimpy, zesty woman who fights angels. So stay tuned or don't, and casually drop the video to finish that assignment you've been working on. Yeah, I know about it, Jackson. Looking for the best in a bad situation, I ended up doing this out-of-body experience battle I skipped over when I first did the chapter. Basically, it's like this side minigame where you have to defeat all angels in the arena while your body lays exposed. You have 4 chances for your body to be hit before you fail the challenge and, well, die. You can move where you choose to have your body rest while you defend it. You're also timed on how fast you complete the challenge. It's a nice fun thing on the side to test your skills. I make it back to where I was and finally kill all 3 kinships, and when I tell you I almost did a Tyler 1 celebration after that. We then jump through another moon hole thingy, got a new weapon from collecting another disc, and they aren't really my fancy. Think Sundowner's weapon from Metal Gear Rising. It was just too slow for me. Man, I keep referencing that game. The time then finally comes where we properly confront the ball, now introduced by its real name, Golem. This ball isn't just a ball though. Golem can shapeshift into different forms to cause you mental agony. There's its dragon form, which will be used to chop and snap at you, bird form that dives in from above and summons twisters, and hands form that tries to squish you like a bug. And all the various states it takes rests its weak point, which is this giant purple ball that, of course, whenever the opportunity presents itself, you hit harder than the metal part of a scooter hitting an ankle. Golem also works just like the doors throughout the game, that you must hit it enough times for them to fall apart for you to enter. So hit Golem enough times while it's in its default state, and it will start to glow just like the doors and then fall apart for a brief time, leaving its weak spot wide open for you to devour. Need to drink water. My voice, it sounds so, jeez, whenever I speak my voice just sounds raspy. I don't know why. In its climax, all the demon arm thingies come together and use Golem like a beach ball, which was pretty funny to see. When they drop it, however, they rage quit and start beating the crap out of it like one does, and it just dies, gets vaporized. No monologue or words of wisdom, it just dies. I hate Gollum. Chapter 10 opens in Paradisio Sea of Stars, a place that apparently was the grounds where Bayonetta and John had their first fight. More clues are found when Bayo finds a tiny rock with 2 little girls carved into it, and the bottom reading John and Theresa. And it shows that John and Theresa had their holding chambers right next to each other. But how can that be if John is visually much older than Theresa? What does Theresa have to do with all this? Get those noggin wheels spinning. The moment is quickly interrupted by a tentacle monster breaking through the floor.
Tentacles? Why did it have to be tentacles?
And the angel strippers show up. We take them down, jump down the hole, and it leads to this small town area very similar to the town from the start of the game. We gotta get 4 cogs for the contraption in the middle, which can be acquired by going around the place and breaking 4 wall punch diggies. I still don't know what to call them or what they're called, and each one gives a cog. We turn the floating island, and that leads to another area that just randomly brings back 2 bosses. The head dragon thing and the no. Alright, this right here is why I hate this guy so much. Not because of his stupid repeated voice lines, but this truly marks the spiral into madness I faced when trying to play this game for the video. So around this time my OBS was acting up for some reason, and you'll notice that at this part of the video just ends. I don't know if it was because my drive where I exported my videos to was filling up or what, but when I had finished a specific recording session and pressed stop recording, the program started to buffer and freeze, and in turn I started to panic, of course. I left it there for a good while and didn't touch anything, hoping it would fix itself, but every time I checked it still had that infamous program is not responding. Eventually and hesitantly I closed the program because this happened before on one of my other sessions, and I waited and then closed the program and everything seemed to be saved. So like I said, I closed the program and go to my folders to check is everything okay. It was not. The file I just finished recording said it lasted 1 second. I double click on it and yep, 1 second of footage plays. So the question is, how much did you lose? How much did I lose? You know, how much did I lose from that recording session? I lost 3 chapters worth of footage, that's what.
Let it out. Let it out.
The pit that formed in my heart when this happened, I was ready to crash out, and I didn't even know what the word crash out was when I recorded this back in June. And as much as I low-key didn't want to, I knew if I wanted this video to work, I had to go back and get the footage that was needed. I did in order to somewhat spare my sanity, I would re-record the footage I needed on a different day, which I did. So I played out the rest of the game, finishing it, and whoa, you guys weren't supposed to see that yet. I then came back days later after I had finished the game at that point, where I knew my mind was clear enough to replay those chapters again and recapture all the footage. I mean, after all, it was only 3 chapters I need to get back, so at least it could be worse. So I opened up Bayonetta and OBS and played everything again, and then the same thing happened. No, like I actually kid you not, that once again none of the footage I captured made it. Like this is literally the definition of feeling defeated, but somehow at the same time wanting to strangle OBS by the throat. At this point, you wouldn't fault someone for scrapping the video altogether, but over here we stand by Nick A30's words, and again, after taking a mental health break, I came back and re-recorded another session and it was successful. Yes, all this pain and suffering was worth it. The video had to be made, I was not giving up. And like that, chapters 10 through 12 were successfully re-recorded for B-roll footage. Now, since these chapters were recorded after I finished the game already, you'll notice some differences. Bayonetta is one of those games that encourage you to replay it once you're done and try to get better scores. Like half the stuff I unlocked you can't even really get on one playthrough alone, such as my extra health and outfits. You would have to play more after beating the game, basically, to get those stuff. Like just beating the game doesn't give you everything, you have to grind even more, and I got that by playing those past chapters again. For the health, of course, as the game goes along, you'll get more health as you upgrade various parts of your character, but one thing I found out when going back to these chapters is that you can buy health. I had never realized this before, but yes, in the gates of hell, you can buy yourself more health instead of increasing it the normal way. It costs a pretty penny though, you know, makes sense you're buying new health, but since I had already beat the game, I had the funds and I dumped as much rings as I could into health upgrades until that green bar was sticking out like a sore thumb, which in turn made replaying these chapters for the 3rd time so much easier and bearable. Along with the health upgrade, I was also able to unlock different skins for Bayonetta. You can purchase them from Rodine's shop after beating the game. You get each outfit by buying its corresponding bullet. Yeah, I don't know why there are bullets you have to buy for the outfits, but hey, drip is trip no matter how it's acquired. We have a fine selection of wear for your Bayonetta to dress up in. The Umbran Kimochi, which puts Bayo in this cute looking kimono that has 3 different colors you can choose from based on your liking. The Art, which is a copy of John's outfit, but the colors are swapped. Nun, which allows you to wear Bayo's Nun outfit from the start of the game. Old, which is Bayo's costume from all her flashbacks. Queen, which sees Bayonetta in a witch-like costume with some revealing features. Umbra Witch, which is a training uniform for all Umbra witches and can be seen worn by different background witches in the game. Various, which is basically 3 outfits in one, each variation being its own thing with a silver-like one piece. What looks to be a swim outfit and the cheerleader outfit. And finally, the PE uniform, which I'm sorry I just had to wear for the memes. It was the only outfit I could afford, and I just knew this was what my Bayonetta had to be rocking while doing these chapters. What's cool too is the costumes stay in cutscenes, which makes me wonder why the same wasn't present in Metal Gear Rising. I'm guessing it's the advancement in technology since Bayonetta was in 2009, while Rising was in 2014. Most older game cutscenes were literally the same space as the gameplay, but just with a free roaming camera, compared to later on, where gameplay and cutscenes are more separated and couldn't work with costumes in certain scenes. But any games that do allow costumes and cutscenes are some of the best. Enough though, you've seen my pain and now it's time to get back to the game's story. Once again, back fighting these bosses but in booty shorts. While we're here fighting for our lives in Paradiso, meanwhile Luca and Cereza are somewhere in the woods. Cereza trips and starts crying, and Luca comforts her with a lollipop he just magically constructs, and it cheers her up. She feeds some to her doll, which name is revealed to be Cheshire. Where have I heard that name before? No time to dwell on it though, because they both get attacked by angels. Very conveniently though, us as Bayonetta made it to a portal to get out of Paradiso in the nick of time. We find them at the end of chapter 10, and the fight goes into chapter 11. Luca, however, isn't able to see anything going on. Not Bayo, not the angels, none of it. Cereza is, however, and gives Luca her glasses, which allows him to see Bayonetta and all the angels. It plays another flashback to when his father died, showing how back then he couldn't see anything going on as well, since Bayonetta and the angels were fighting in Purgatorio. So the glasses are what allows Cereza to see everything, except no, she can still see without them. Before she hands them to Luca, she does seem to put an enchantment on them, which would allow Luca to see what she sees while looking for the lenses. We of course beat the angels and make it out the woods, but the ground starts to shake and crumble. Bayo falls. Luca tries to have a main character moment and fails. Like, this game is so goofy, bro. Cereza drops my boy Chester and he loses the eye to the angel emerging from the ground. Which, now that I think about it, why is this angel coming from below? We now start our opening chapter boss battle to avenge Cheshire, which I now realize this game has quite a few of, which is cool, you know. Starting off a chapter with a boss fight can be a great way to set the stage. Our special angel today, you know what? I give up trying to pronounce these names. Oh boy, another disgusting design that makes me feel icky inside. Like, it's the throat and gag sounds for me, bro, because it has the tentacles or whatever coming out its mouth and it's so wet. Along with the freaking baby head, which makes such uncomfortable noises. And it's the main thing you gotta hit for the fight in order to progress the boss. Like, dude, once you do enough damage to the baby head tentacle thingy, you run along it, avoiding these white spinning objects that you have to avoid like you're on a game show. And when you get to one of the faces and punch it, it gags out one of its tentacles, revealing the end of it to be this like bulb thingy that Bayonetta enters a kung fu pose to slice off. And it's all just so hard to watch, unless you're into that stuff, of course. You repeat this process 2 more times till all the tentacles are disconnected, and we start the climax. Again though, if you're into tentacles, you probably already have. We didn't get a giant centipede or millipede. I think centipedes are the ones with the legs on their sides, if I'm correct. Anyway, it wraps itself around the angel and squeezes it into a big ball of mush. Once again, very stomachable imagery, you know, very, just great. The thing speaks about the Lumen Sage and more about the 2 eyes of the world overlooking everything before being dragged away. Why am I speaking like this, bro? Oh my god, this is not how I sound. This is not how I sound. Okay, speaking exercises. Peter Piper pecked a pick of pickled peppers. And then let me read the script. The thing speaks about the Lumen Sages and more about the 2. But why is it when I read from the script I sound different? Maybe I'm just not built for speaking, bro. My throat, like, Okay, the thing speaks about the Lumen Sage and more about the two eyes of the world overlooking everything before being dragged away. And that was the whole chapter, just that disgusting boss fight. Not saying it was bad, but it was just hard to watch, or hard while watching. In chapter 12, the gang is all back together and Chester is returned safely with a healed eye. And Luca gives us more context on the Umbra Witches and Lumen Sages, and how they're both connected to the eyes of the world. The thing that Angels keep seeming to bring up again and again. He knows all this again via his father, who is researching the case before his death, leading Luca to take it over. It is then revealed they are standing in the town of Vigoride 500 years later. Luca spits out the backstory of the Umbra Witches and Lumen Sages. The two clans actually used to work together for the goal of reaching and maintaining peace in the world. They both possess an eye that has the power to apparently create history, which both clans used in harmony to oversee the world. Everything changed, however, when a woman and a man from each clan became lovers and conceived a child together, which set both clans into chaos. For their crimes of apparently upsetting the balance of light and dark by boning each other, the woman was thrown in jail and the dude was just exiled from his clan, with his whereabouts unknown. What about the child the two had though? What happened to it? Well, the Umbra took them in. They were raised as a black sheep amongst them for being such an unbalanced child, I guess. Now that the clans weren't working together, they fought over the power of both the eyes. As if they are brought together, the power could be used to control reality itself. But this war over the eyes led to both clans being wiped out. All this over two people having sex for real. So the group that oversees Vigrid are trying to sell a gemstone on the black market, and that's what's leading Luca to breaking into one of these jets to acquire it. We get some more Bayonetta and Cereza interactions, which is always cute. Bayonetta brings up what's something that Cereza holds dear to her. At first she shows Cheshire, but then pulls out this empty pendant, which, wait a second, that looks very familiar. Bayonetta of course is surprised, like how did she get that? And Cereza says that Bayonetta in fact gave it to her, which a flashback confirms. You guys probably already figured out what's been going on with the whole Bayonetta and Cereza plot and their connection to each other based off all the hints and clues, but I wouldn't be a good storyteller if I just skipped ahead and revealed it. Well, I kind of did that before with my Metal Gear Rising video, but shh. The ground then bursts open from another angel popping up, I can presume. And you know this is quite dangerous. A car hurdles at Cereza and Luca comes in and saves her, which I don't know why Bayonetta couldn't. Like, Cereza wasn't even that far from her, and she's much faster than Luca, so I don't know why she didn't swoop in, but alright. They land on one of the jets taking off, but Luca drops Cereza after another shaking of the ground, and the way she just tumbles down is so funny. And then the way this man Luca reacts, like he just says damn. His reaction to losing a child and watching her fall down into the jet and just damn. Hey, I can't even lie, he's real for that though. Like sometimes you just gotta be like, bruh. Luca then falls off the jet, but Bayonetta swoops on just in time in order to get inside and save Cereza, which again shows like why didn't she just do the same earlier? Like she's clearly fast and strong enough to jump and get on that jet before it even took off, but let Luca swoop her up and land on said jet. Like if you saved her, she wouldn't have been in this problem anyhow. I don't want to sound annoying, but she really wasn't that far. Like just take a look, she was like for real like 2 meters away and somehow couldn't easily just swoop in and grab Cereza before she got hit. But she can easily, but yeah, Luca's gotta take care of that. Luca can get it, but anyway, off we go on this jet with Luca being left behind. But knowing him, he'll somehow find a way to catch up to us in the nick of time. This jet section, which I don't know if it can even be classified as a jet, this thing is huge. Like of course, if you know all about air vehicles, please correct me. I've never seen jets this big. Like this thing is carrying cargo. There's no way this is classified as like a jet. But again, if I'm wrong, you know, let me know. But anyways, this section isn't really much. There's this hair constructs you have to avoid that punch through the jet at certain areas. And spoiler alert, it's Jean, which I only bring up because we fight her right after this. And even though I've played this chapter 3 times, I don't know how I'm just now noticing this. Like I've never questioned the giant white hair fist and monster popping up when there's literally only one other character in the game that's capable of doing this, and she appears like right after this section too. Like what? And I know I just said earlier I'm trying to my best to keep everything in a straight timeline, but I just had to contradict myself here because I'm like, for real, how did I miss this? Like it's literally white hair coming through and causing this damage. Like obviously it's John doing this, like trying to sabotage, but I never questioned it earlier on. Like it was so, oh my god. But yes, we exit the jet and John is there waiting for us. She's all like, you must be attached to that girl, huh? Bayonetta's all like, pfft. Me? No, never. But what the hell did you do with her? I'll kill you if you even dare touch her. I'm just getting her for Luca, that's all. He'll be even more annoying if I don't. You know him. You know their relationship. Bayonetta is just being one big tsundere here. She doesn't want to admit she cares for both Cereza and Luca, and Jean mocks her for that. I also really like that their cutscene fight here. It shows off how much Bayonetta has really grown and is able to keep up with Jean at a much better pace now, even using all her beast for Finn forms. Angel then shows up nagging Jean because they're working together, and Jean basically goes bugger off mate, and in doing so causes the Angel to fall and break one of the jet wings off the jet, which of course causes the whole thing to start falling out of the sky. A great set piece for this Jean fight. Also, Bayo freaking goes into witch mode and forms an ice spear out of the rain droplets, which is just another level of awesome I cannot explain. Jean also encourages Bayo to get violent and proves she deserves the power of the left eye, and once again that male voice enters Bayonetta's head and the fight officially starts. It's pretty annoying though when you die, because it just sends you all the way back to the inside of the plane. Like if you couldn't skip cutscenes in this game, it would be horrid. And then I gotta make my way back outside the plane to even trigger the cutscene. Like bro, what? Why not just put me back at the start of the fight? Like why would you put me all the way back to another section and not at the start of the, it makes no sense. Why would that be your point? The fight is pretty straightforward. You'll fight her how you normally do until about halfway when she loses a certain amount of health. She'll summon a motorcycle where she'll try to run you over and you have to dodge each coming drift. Successfully doing so will trigger a witch time, which leaves her open for you to do damage. After she's defeated, Bayonetta heads back inside to find Cereza, but things are made more difficult due to the jet now going down, with there being water and electricity everywhere, which you know isn't a good mix. Cereza is found and we get a cute little reunion before having to get a move on, where we have to carry Cereza throughout the inside of the jet, avoiding the sparking water and fighting angels. It's also here where I realized I was playing the game on easy mode for some reason. Like not the entirety of the game, but specifically like during this third playthrough of the chapters, I realized like my game mode had been switched to easy. Like I thought things were feeling too easy, especially after the John fight. I thought it was just because I had more upgrades and stuff after beating the game and everything, which was true, it did help, but things were feeling a little too helpful. And here I was doing full combos just by clicking the left mouse button. So I checked the menu and yep, I was on easy, which lets you do combos with just one button. I don't know when it activated during this chapter or earlier when I was redoing these 3 chapters, but I also don't know how, because I know I intentionally didn't switch to easy. I guess I might have, I'm guessing maybe I did it by mistake, but I have no memory of putting it on easy mode, so I don't know how that even happened. Okay, so future me here, and I found footage of me intentionally putting on an easy mode, so that was a lie. I just misremembered. I guess I forgot that I put it on there because I was suffering, but yeah. Overall though, I honestly didn't care since I was doing these chapters for footage anyway and had already beaten them normally, so it helped make the process even faster and less of a burden. But right on cue as I'm mentioning this, the jet breaks in half as it sinks and we gotta run up the side to make it to the top, and the chapter ends there, which means back to the original footage where everything is much harder. Also means no more gym girl Bayonetta. Chapter 13 starts right off where chapter 12 left off. Bayonetta and Cereza are stuck on top of the sinking jet and things aren't looking good for Cereza. At least I don't know, would this be a dangerous situation for Bayonetta? I feel like she could just enter witch time and then just run to shore in her beast form. Any way you put it though, it's a bad situation. Even if Bayonetta survived, Cereza would be dead, which you know I don't think she would want. But right on cue, what did I say? Luca comes and saves the day, again somehow finding our exact location. I'll cut him some slack on this one though, since the jet most likely had a tracker. He jumps down in this goofy pose, our hero. Before we can all make it out and escape though, the angel from earlier emerges from the water. Bayonetta hands Cereza to Luke like she's a freaking toy, and now we face Serpentina, and Bayonetta shuts him up, but hold up Bayonetta, let him cook. His yap is needed for more lore. He goes on more about Bayonetta's role in the resurrection of Jubileus and if she is ready, hinting back to what John spoke about earlier. They are close to resurrecting the creator and all they need is the awakening of the left eye to unite the eyes of the world. But now it's time to beat this guy back into the heavens. This fight, first off, is a really cool set piece, set just somewhere in the sea. All there being is you, the angel, and this piece of metal that Bayonetta surfs on. Yeah, dude. While you surf around, your goal is to go around to each of his 4 legs and destroy the baby head on it. You'll be interrupted by fireballs, laser beams, and those godforsaken missiles from earlier that are on kinship. Luckily, they're much slower now. After you destroy like 2, he'll dive into the water where you have to avoid him popping up, giving you a chomp. You do this by looking at the waves of the water to see where he'll pop up. After that, it'll go back to regular camera view and he'll do 2 jumps out the water, which you also must avoid. Then one final big jump where he'll end up back in place for you to go back after the baby heads. Destroy 2 more and you climax. And what hair demon does Bayonetta spawn for this ocean themed fight? A spider. The angel sees this and tries to flee, which honestly same, I hate spiders. Bayo then jumps on top of the angel and spawns 2 giant hands to steer the thing into the spider, where you gotta spam E and A in order to keep it on course. Failing will just reset and put you back to the previous stage of the fight. Once there, the spider bites off its face armor, revealing another weak point, which of course now you will whack for the rest of the fight. The angel continues with its diving attacks along with now melee only base attacks when it's not in that state. You repeat this till you climax again, ripping off more of his face along with his wings, which I didn't even notice he had till they were ripped off. He dives down into the water again, this time causing a vortex, pulling Bayonetta in, and then he sprouts tentacles from his mouth to make the vortex worse, which of course he does. Of course he's just has tentacles in his mouth. Tentacles shoot out rotating beams which you must avoid while making your way towards him. Other obstacles include flying baby heads, because yes, once you make it back to his face, you attack him until he spins the mouth tentacles again, causing you to hurl back and repeat until he dies. And then you repeat this process until he dies. In the climax, the spider returns, but even bigger than before. It summons a web that catches the angel and then summons, I guess, its babies which surround him and pull him apart. He also still speaks with his little head just left there in the web with the jaw dislocated. He reveals that the angels aren't after Bayonetta's stone in her chest. Bayonetta then leaps up on the board back to the helicopter before Luca and Cereza even make it up there. The entire fight took place in witch time. Bro, Bayo is broken. Like, how would the entire fight look for the outside? It all happened basically in less than maybe like 8 to 5 seconds for like Luca and Cereza's point of view. That like it's insane. We all get some cute interactions where they're all in the chopper. They then set off towards the city and chapter 13 ends. Chapter 14 continues as they set forth towards the city, but Luca is concerned about the angels stopping them from making it all the way, but clearly not concerned enough. He's busy looking at drippy Bayonetta, and I'm not talking about clothing. She does got that stuff on though. They are all now dead because Luca was staring at Bayonetta's chest. Thank you for watching and I hope you guys enjoyed. The next section we get is really cool and it's similar to the motorcycle riding section from earlier, where you ride a missile while making your way into the city while avoiding other missiles and those flying baby face angels. You get 2 attack buttons to fight back, the left mouse button that fires out basic shooting attacks and the right click that fires out our own missile that deals bigger damage, and then of course shift to avoid incoming green blasts from the baby heads. This is a really cool and engaging section, having to balance blasting enemies and avoiding constant incoming attacks. You also have serpents come in every now and then as mini bosses that you must defeat before moving on. You gotta evade their fireballs to enter witch time to line up an angle to shoot their weak spot. There's then a second phase where you have these more bulky foot soldiers, or I don't even know, they don't have feet. They shoot fireballs and you again gotta dodge to enter witch time for the best shots. You can also transfer to you on missile fighting angels in the normal combat before switching back. More enemy types show up that shoot beams. The freaking never guy then shows up for one final fight before the section finally ends. Like, don't get me wrong, it was fun, but everything I mentioned above is just repeated over and over again, and the section feels longer than it needed to be. I get it though, it was a unique thing and they wanted it to be maximized, but like still, it got repetitive pretty fast. We finally arrive in the city of Elsa di Sol.
Welcome to Isla del Sol.
Nope.
But we don't get to enjoy the sights as Jean like almost immediately pops in. She states since Bayonetta has made it this far, she's finally ready for their proper final showdown, finishing what they had started all those years ago. While talking, she periodically launches missiles. Jean is a terrorist confirmed. She goes on more about the Lumen Sages and Umbra Witches and how they maintain the balance between light and dark and how they must never intertwine, but they did 500 years ago when that infamous child was born. And Jean reveals that that child was Bayonetta. Whoa, who could have guessed? I'm not saying it was obvious, but I guess it kind of was. Like, the game gave you the right amount of lore and hints to where one could safely assume that Bayonetta was the child that was born of the Lumen Sages and Umber Witches. John then basically calls Bayonetta a mistake, that her existence ruined everything between the two clans. Some real Twitter and Reddit levels of mad. That low tier god mindset. She mustn't let their precious left eye be in the hands of another. The missiles she launched are going to blow up this whole island, leaving nothing left. She tells Bayonetta it's time to end this. Time to end her. But again, always right on time, my boy Luca again somehow going from stuck on a missile in the sky to a whole truck leaps onto the scene and steals John's detonator. He then gets Cereza, who he calls Cicerita.
Get in, Cerecita.
That's how he said it. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he calls her that, which confused me. Is her name just different now, or is this just his nickname given to her? I don't know. What matters is they're both safe and drive off. My boy Luca being peak once again. Bayo then has John at gunpoint and thinks all is well until... Boom. The vehicle holding Luca and Cereza blows up. You can see the exact moment Bayonetta's heart crumbles into a billion pieces. Those two were the only real family she had, mostly just being alone all her life. Yeah, she had Rodin, but their relationship is much more on the professional side. These two were much more personal. Jean then launches another set of missiles and the final battle between her and Bayonetta commences. Jean holds nothing back and puts her best foot forward. She still fights how she usually does, though dishing out combos and heavy attacks along with being able to parry your attacks. The fight is going normal until the missiles cause buildings to collapse and fall, with the building we're on being one of them. They jump onto neighboring buildings, and during it, John's clones burn off and we get this shot. This game holds nothing back, bro. She then summons her hair outfit similar to Bayonetta, and boom, Umber Witch John. It's so cool how they showcase it, how they do the angels. I wish they gave her a book too, just like the rest. We then continue to fight on this amazing set piece on the side of a skyscraper with the background of the city. Just the set pieces and locations in this game are just so good. And why wouldn't they be? This is Bayonetta we're talking about. Being flashy is a given. Fight continues, but now Jean will send down her missiles, which you must evade. But you can also grab them if you hit the button prompt in time, where you throw the missile at her. But that's not it. No. Jean isn't that easy. You gotta earn that damage. Cause she'll catch the missile you countered and throw it back. And you have to hit the button prompt on time again to throw back a second time. But you'll catch it again. And you basically go back and forth like you guys are playing tennis until it eventually hits her for big damage. It gets faster and faster though, so you have to stay vigilant with your button presses. Keep up with this part of the fight, and eventually Jean will bring in another missile and leaps on top of it, coming straight at you, and you gotta hit 2 button prompts in time to avoid it, which I failed at first because me. But if you don't fail, you hop on top of it with Jean and continue to fight on there, flying throughout the city in another visually amazing set piece. The fight location moves again to another building, and that's one thing that always stuck with me. When it came to this fight, just going all around the city and seeing the scenery, even if it's getting attacked with missiles, it's just so cool going throughout this place. Along with the music, Blood and Darkness playing, it just gives off this vibe I can't explain. Like, it gives the feeling of awe and beauty, but also fear and being on edge. With it though brings more challenge, of course. When you have to counter QTEs with Jean, instead of the usual 4 orbs you need to win the class, that number is increased. As seen here, when I died, I got 6 orbs and it still wasn't enough. Here though, at the final location, Jean is defeated for good this time, but not before dropping some bombshells, giving us more answers to the mysterious eyes of the world and the 2 clans. It is revealed that Bayonetta possesses the 3rd eye, it being the little red gem that's been in her pendant this whole time. It is also revealed that Bayonetta is Cereza, that being her birth-given name, and that her and Jean actually used to be childhood best friends, but Jean lost herself in the chase for the left eye and Lumen Sages and Umber Witches chaos. Jean then gets blown up by 2 missiles and leaves Bayonetta to be launched into another, and launched into a building right in front of an elevator, of which Lucas steps out carrying Cereza, cause this man can just escape any situation.
What? It's not like you don't scare the shit out of me all the time.
I don't know whether to shoot you or to take you to Vegas for good luck, Cheshire.
Give me more credit than that. If you must know, where Luka Luca is concerned, there's no such thing as luck. Only skill.
And that is chapter 14. Now, I think we all need to take a step back at what just happened. We finally defeated John and she supposedly dies, but only after dropping that not only does Bayonetta have the left eye that so many speak of, but Bayonetta and Cereza are one and the same. Again, another twist that if you've been paying attention throughout the game, you would have caught on to. I mean, they literally look the same, for crying out loud. When I first played, I wasn't shocked by the reveal. It was more of a confirmation of my suspicions. This, however, opens up a whole new can of worms, because now it's like, okay, why is Cereza here? Is Bayonetta really her mom? Like, is Cereza really Cereza Jr.? If so, who's the dad? Just a lot of confusion still on my part. I don't want to get any deeper into it though till we get further in the game. Chapter 15 and the gang's all here. They arrive at the door with bright light coming from inside and seems to be inviting them in. The voice in Bayonetta's head pops up again, and this time Cereza can hear it too and proclaims the voice is Daddy and runs into the room. Bayonetta chases after her, but Luca gets left behind, forced to take the stairs. On the other side of the door, things aren't much better for us. Not only do we still have to take a bunch of stairs, we would just fight hordes and hordes of enemies while ascending. We encountered dang near every enemy type during this section. And how did Cereza make it through all this and so fast? We were like right behind her. How did she get so far ahead? She entered in like not even that long after her, and Cereza is nowhere to be seen. The only interesting part of this section is when the goddamn Nebra guy shows up, because you know all the homies have been showing up and we haven't gotten enough of him clearly. But we have to mount these cannons and shoot at him while he also counterfires these damn baby missiles. The section is okay, and that's all I can say. It's a nice change up from just fighting hordes of the same enemies while making my way up this building. We defeat him and then make our way into an elevator shaft where the moon shines, and we make our way up the shaft, but of course gotta be obstacles. Don't get hit now. Then this guy shows up and I can't take it anymore. Why is everybody pulling up? We then make our way to this area with a giant statue in the middle. After turning a knob, these floating platforms appear vertically around the area. These platforms glow and disappear after a certain amount of time, with how fast they're glowing indicating how much time you have left to stand on it before it disappears. Through these platforms we have to make our way upward, which for me definitely took some time. The golem enemy for some reason can show up with a brand new form that shoots fireballs, and you're basically forced to fight him again before moving on. This section took me way too long, I have to admit. Not only with platforming, but also fighting Golem, which both took me multiple times. After you defeat him though, a door opens that leads outside to the exterior of the building, to which we'll continue our ascent, which doesn't last long before we're ambushed again, this time by the angel that attacked us in the ocean. I really can't remember all their names. He causes the lower half of the building to explode and catch fire, and we have to escape this by whacking him in the face so he scoots back and allows us to move forward. We defeat him and he falls and gets impaled on the building structures below. And then very abruptly you better get to W King, because remember how the building's exploding? Well, boom, chase sequence. Like 1 nanosecond before I can even process the monster getting impaled. I did in fact not make it first try because of that though. Second time I did, however, because I was actually prepared for it. We get inside and land on this giant ball and have to disconnect 4 strings holding it. And we fall and end up at the top. I don't know what the angels did to this building. First the tile room and now this. We walk up this pathway and enter this orange portal thingy, and the chapter ends. Chapter 16 opens with this mysterious angel man holding Cereza and applying lipstick to her, calling her his sweet child. This is the infamous daddy Cereza was talking about earlier, and somehow ran through everything that I did in like 2 seconds. Like seriously, how did she get to him so fast after going through the door? Yeah, I had to go on a whole conquest just to get to this man. Bayonetta appears and the man refers to her as Cereza. Bayonetta states that he is the last of the Lumen Sages. The man certifies this and reveals himself as Baldur. So it was him that built that gate, huh? Jokes aside, this is Baldur, Bayonetta's father, aka the dude that boned a Umber witch all those years ago. He's also the man that's been in Bayonetta's ear the whole game, giving those speeches about the left eye. He speaks more about the eyes of the world and how the Lumen Sages and Umber witches oversaw the universe together with their respective eye. That was until Bayonetta fell asleep for 500 years, and Baldur reveals that Bayonetta herself is the left eye. After she was awakened, everything up until this point was done to secure her so they could restore the creator Jubileus. Bayonetta though is just concerned about Cereza. Baldur says Bayonetta had to see herself once more, which confirms that Cereza is Bayonetta, or I guess more accurately, Bayonetta is Cereza. They are the same person. But that still didn't answer Bayonetta's, and heck, even my question of how. How did you get Cereza? Did this dude just go back in time or something? Like, I'm genuinely so confused, I'm not joking. If any expert Bayonetta fan is watching, please explain this to me, because I understand that yes, Cereza is Bayonetta as a child, but just again, how did she get her, and why does she call Bayonetta mommy? I don't know, maybe I missed something, but please someone explain it to me below. Unless it contains spoilers for future games, of course, which I haven't played yet at the time of this video. You know, can paint, basically just paint a clearer picture on why Cereza is here, or maybe it's not a clear picture. Maybe sometimes stuff's just how it is. Like, you know, not everything has an explanation, but if somebody can share that, please comment that down below. Baldur shares his plans to combine the 3 worlds into the image of the old. I think the 3 worlds he's referring to being Paradiso, Purgatorio, and Inferno. He also tells Bayonetta it was him that started the Witch Huts 500 years ago, and it cuts to a flashback of Bayonetta holding her dead mother and crying out, "Mommy," which is so sad and cute, because, you know, like, she's Cereza calling out to mommy. It's sad. Baldur's end goal is to resurrect Jubileus and have him and Bayonetta become the eyes of the world. Bayonetta, however, isn't too on board with this plan. You know, this guy who's supposed to be her father is the same guy that's responsible for the death of her mother. Crazy now that I think about it. There's leaving to get milk, then there's causing the extinction of the woman who you banged people. Like, you had relations with this woman, and then you kill not only her, but her entire, like, clan. Like, bro. Luca then appears, cause it's Luca, you know, and mocks Baldur for his plan. Baldur knows Luca. In fact, Baldur reveals he knew Luca's father. Him being the one to discover Bayonetta was at the bottom of the lake and all. Though just like Luca, his father didn't agree with Baldur's plans, and so Baldur got him killed. All along, it was Baldur's fault Luca's father was killed that day at the lake. Luca, of course, enraged by this, rushes at Baldur, but doesn't make it far before being restrained by angels. He's about to die in the same fashion his father did, but then Bayonetta steps in and disposes of the angels holding him. But Baldur catches Luca himself and smashes the dude through like 3 pillars. Jesus Christ. Rest in peace to Luca's back. Like, how did he survive all that? He's then sent flying out the window when Bayonetta fails to catch him and he plummets down below. And before Bayonetta can even properly process the loss of her dear friend, Baldur reveals that Jean was the one to seal Bayonetta away, but it was in order to protect her. The Lumen sages and angels, however, got a hold of her and mind controlled her to work for them. Although they hadn't gotten full grasp on her, hence why we see scenes of her having backlash when other angels are present. Baldur gloats how her demise led Bayonetta straight to him. Bayonetta is at her lowest point right now. Having lost 2 of her friends, she retaliates, but Baldur shows he doesn't just talk the talk and enters witch time, where I guess his sage time, and quickly redirects the bullets. He then puts Bayo in a chokehold and throws her across the room. He then fuses with Cereza, causing the top part of the building to explode. The camera pans to show his final form fused with Cereza, Father Baldur. I'm starting to think this guy didn't make a gate. He has this honestly pretty neat design with his wings being peacock-like feathers and being able to see Cereza in the middle as they're, you know, like conjoined, and he kind of, I guess, absorbed her. The fight has multiple stages, with the first phase consisting of majority of Baldur's attacks being these light beam slashes at you, with the occasional light beams and lava bursts in between. Nothing too serious, but when you get him to half of his health, he takes control of his satellite and has to shoot down a beam onto Earth to strike us. Like, can Lumen Sages just do that? I know they have mystical powers, but bro just took control of a whole government machine. Once shot though, you just got to dodge it, and it's not hard. The warning marker is huge. Then after that, you deplete the other half of his health and hit the climax. Except things don't go how they usually do. The demon comes in and chops up Baldur, but the final bite is stunned by a spherical shield Baldur encases himself in, and then he takes down the demon in one attack. Same thing happens in phase 2 of the fight. We climax and the centipede demon comes out this time, but also fails to fully defeat Baldur. But you know the saying about third attempts. Bayonetta takes one final shot at Baldur using the deadliest piece of ammo there is, lipstick. And what plays out is this really cool section of getting the freedom to control the bullet as it heads to Baldur, having to dodge shattered glass pieces that knock you off your course. A fun little minigame as we defeat the big bad. And once at the end, we hit Baldur right in the noggin. He's defeated by a piece of cosmetic material. Man, how powerful of a shot would it have to be for a piece of lipstick to penetrate a skull, let alone a divine being's skull? As the dust clears, Bayonetta appears safely with Cereza in hand and snaps her fingers to reveal Luca is okay. He's always okay. How did he survive falling several stories and make it back? It's Luca. He always comes back. No, why are you questioning it? My guess, like, there maybe was like leftover missiles from the ones where John shocked them and Luca somehow hitched on one. I don't know, bro just survived stuff. Bayonetta then uses her watch pendant to travel back to the past, I assume, and lays Cereza into bed, telling her to keep her version of the pendant safe and that Cereza is strong. It's a really touching moment. Bayonetta basically talking to herself. Remember guys, when doing your daily affirmations, do it Bayonetta and Cereza style. As Bayonetta walks off, she sings Fly Me to the Moon, the song that can be heard a good chunk throughout the game. And wait, have I even talked about this game's soundtrack yet? Jesus, I've been accidentally gatekeeping you guys. Oh my god. I just did a word search of my script and the word song doesn't even appear at all. Oh my, like just this late into the video. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the soundtrack now. Or to put things simply, the soundtrack and score are amazing. The tracks that I've been listening to outside the game that are my favorite are the previously mentioned Fly Me to the Moon, the theme of Bayonetta Mysterious Destiny, which is an absolute jam and I could sing it all day, and then of course Hit the Climax. If you play Smash, you already know this song. It's the most famous of the OST. But yes, Bayonetta is filled with bangers because you can't look this good without some heat playing in the back. Bayonetta then returns to the present where her and Luca give each other a look of relief and are about to go in for a hug. I think it looks like it. But Bayo starts to convulse due to some red energy, and it cuts to a flashback of our Bayonetta turning Cereza's pendant into a necklace and telling her to keep it close to her heart from earlier in the game, right? Then it skips ahead to an older Bayonetta who's saved from a stabbing by Jean due to the pendant blocking the blow. Okay, you follow? Because I don't know if I am. So explaining it the best I can and how I'm interpreting everything. Once again, if anyone understands fully what's going on, please tell us in the comments. But this seems to be a time loop. So Cereza is born after Baldur and some unnamed Umbra witch touch privates, and just like the story told, she's raised among the Umbra but as an outcast, mostly being in a cave. But at some point, Cereza encounters Bayonetta and gets her pendant. Then she grows up and gets trapped in the lake, which made her lose her memories, and I assume she forgot her name as well, and then starts going by Bayonetta. And then the events of the main story unfold until she encounters her past self, Cereza, and basically becomes her own mom, at least when it comes to raising herself. I thought I had this down, but now trying to explain it, I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. But like, this is the Cereza we had been with the whole game, right? She had a flashback to the prime Bayonetta talking to her about the pendant and refers to her as mommy. So this Cereza grows up into Bayonetta and things loop. Like, because she lost her memory, she wouldn't remember her future self being her mommy. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna watch like a leaderboard video or something, like those freaking Bayonetta timeline explained videos, like. But again, comment down below because I would really want this to be made clear for me. Luca tries to help Bayo but is powerless to whatever is going on with her. Then Baldur appears behind him covered in the same aura as Bayonetta but blue. He's still alive because yeah, it was a piece of lipstick at the end of the day he got shot with. Like I said earlier, how deadly could it really be? Especially to a divine being. He goes on about how it was never Bayonetta he needed, but rather her younger self Cereza, who saw the world through innocent eyes, which was able to activate Bayonetta as the left eye now, I guess. I don't know. He grabs her and begins to ascend, and Luca just has to sadly watch, like he can't do anything about it. He graces Jubileus and merges him and Bayonetta into her statue, finally enabling the eyes of the world, where him and Bayonetta will oversee this new era, and the chapter comes to a close. The next chapter isn't even titled or numbered, it's the epilogue. That's right, we've made it to the end. And if you made it this far, I really appreciate you. But yeah, this video is probably pretty long, so you making it this far means I'm doing at least something right, or you just have no taste. The epilogue opens with a crowd of Lumen sages watching a rocket. They're watching a rocket blast off. This rocket having the Jubileus statue containing Baldur and Bayonetta inside, set to ascend to the overworld. This is such a bizarre plan. How did these guys get the funding, first of all, to get a rocket and then attach a giant statue to the top of it? I guess when you have a powerful angel dude on your side, things are easier. And for their plan to be about the balance of light and dark and all, it's ironic only Lumen sages are here to act out this plan while all the Umbra witches are dead in the ground. But while they all gather, a visitor appears on a motorcycle, and there's only one type of person that can ride like that. Jean. Yes, Jean is alive. It cuts to a flashback to show how she survived, thanks to the gemstone Bayonetta gave her, which not only freed her fully from the Lumen Sage's mind control, but protected her from the explosion that was thought to be her end. She's now on a mission to save Bayonetta, the Umber Witch's precious left eye. In an Umber Witch fashion, she leaps her motorcycle on the side of the rocket, and we're playing as Jean now, hell yeah. This is honestly like one of, if not my favorite sections of the game. Taking control of Jean and riding up the side of her rocket at high speeds, dodging and blasting enemies. Again, this game's set pieces are so good. She then abandons the bike and does parkour and running for the final stretch. Baldur thinks she's coming after the left eye, but Jean reiterates she's coming after her Umbra sister. Aww. Baldur, in order to slow Jean down, blows up the moon. Everyone on Earth is just screwed now, huh? Like that had to be the moon. I can't think of anything it could have been. Like the moon is just gone now. If anyone knows the science behind the consequences of that, you know that Jean and Bayonetta would just be better off chilling in space. Like the implications of that. Like the Bayonetta universe is just always going through some kind of monstrous event. Jesus Christ. Jean prevails through the moon rumble, falling down upon her and makes it to Bayonetta and attempts to pull her free. Baldur warns Jean doing this will upset the balance if Jubilius is revived without the balance of light and dark to control her. But Jean persists and is successful in pulling Bayonetta out. They rekindle, but a flash of bright light pulls Jean away as she floats off into space. The statue is transforming and closes its eyes, trapping Baldur inside, or I guess squishing him based on the sound effect. Baldur really got taken out in some embarrassing ways. Even though he didn't die from it, he was knocked down for a good while by lipstick, then meets his ultimate device via a blink. The statue glows more and more throughout its body, and finally, Jubilius, the creator, is revived. She summons a force field around her surrounding area, and Bayonetta gets up stating she'll avenge Jean. And like that, the ultimate battle of baddies begins. Jubilius, being the ultimate being, and all, holds nothing back, and off the bat we got as many attacks as possible in the first phase. Her back thingies, which I wrote in the script as back thingies, but they're really her hair, so I'm gonna make that correction now. Like if you look at her design, like the things coming out of her like head, they're not really hair, but they kind of resemble it, and these things will spike down into the ground and shoot off fireballs. The more there are, the more fireballs get shot at you, as well as more face missiles that come your way along with them. The goal here is to destroy all her little hairs. You get past this phase by basically kicking in the missiles into her hair thingies, like their weak spot, her hair spikes, and that's how you end up doing damage. But yes, you kick the missiles into her hair heads, and you do that until one of them turns to stone and crumbles. Jubilius will then transform the terrain into one resembling a volcano, avoiding obstacles like fire vortexes, these blue spinny things, and of course more fireballs, all while slowly chipping at another one of her hair heads, eventually taking out that one too. Jubilius is starting to get pissed. Her new hairdo she just got done is getting ruined, and fires off a powerful blast, which Bayonetta avoids via hardcore parkour, which leads us to her face, where we smack it, causing her to collapse for a brief period, allowing us to get some hits in on her weak spot located on her forehead. She then turns the terrain icy this time, and we repeat the same thing earlier with attacking her hair heads bit by bit, this time just avoiding ice balls, ice spikes that pop out the ground and freeze you in place, and falling icicles. And again, we take it out and avoid her oncoming blast, causing her to fall to the ground and get to her weak point. Jubilius then takes it up a notch and causes a storm and lifts up a bunch of rocks, where her hair heads stay tucked in, and we gotta leap from rock to rock, taking out each one, with the last one being officially taken out to fight. Then the rocks form a path straight to her face, which lets us knock her down again. At this point in the fight, her battle damage is starting to show. She doesn't have many options left, or does she? She lets out a roar and a burst of angry that summons these blue spinning discs that if they hit Bayonetta, turn her into a child. It's so random, but honestly works as a good way for the boss to be able to crutch the player. Gotta run around with my little legs and avoid her gigantic punches. The fight carries on as normal until you eventually destroy the last hairhead and get sent into the climax. Bayonetta summons the biggest hair spiral we've seen that leads all the way to the top of Jubilius' face. We went on top of it, avoiding Jubilius' desperate blows as we get closer and closer before doing another climax which wraps her inside the hair, leaving her helpless as we make it to the top and start attacking her weak spot. All this happening as Fly Me to the Moon plays, creating the ultimate hype fest. And for one final time, we hit the third climax and Bayonetta busts out her best moves and summons a hair demon even bigger than Jubilius, being made of both black and white hair like Jean's. And with a good luck smooch to the fist, we hit one of the hypest QTEs in gaming, punching Jubilius out into space and sending her spiraling towards the sun. Where just like with Baldur, you can control Jubilius' spiral into the sun, moving past all the planets. It's such a beautiful sight. I would say Jubilius met her maker, but she is the maker, so I guess she meets herself. Anyway, she burns in the star that is 27 million degrees degrees Fahrenheit, 15 million degrees Celsius, and 15 million Kelvin. All that for a silver? Are you kidding me? But with that, Baldur and Jubileus have both been officially defeated, and the story of Bayonetta is over. The credits roll as Jubileus' statue plummets towards Earth, while melancholic Bayonetta rests atop. A meteor is about to hit Bayonetta, but Jean destroys it and makes her entrance. That's right, she's alive again. Of course she is. Nobody in Bayonetta ever dies. Except you three. But nobody in Bayonetta ever dies. You see, Jubileus may have been defeated, but this giant statue of her still needs to be dealt with before it hits the earth. And the two Umbra Witches are going to do just that. We pummel the statue into shreds. That makes no sense. How do you pummel something into shreds? What am I saying? They destroy the statue and continue to fall into earth back to back. God, this shot is so cool.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous. How do you keep surviving all this?
The same thing can be said about you, Luca. This dude is the William aftermath of the Bayonetta universe. Turns out though, Jean, or at least Bayonetta, didn't survive their plummet to Earth. A few days after, we're here at Bayonetta's funeral with Enzo and Rodin. Bayonetta is dead, and in hell according to Rodin, as witches make deals with the devil. And as such, when they die, the devil gets his dues in the form of their soul. You know how this works, typical devil stuff. So Bayonetta is dead and in hell. What an end. What an ending. Bayonetta is dead and in hell. Even so, they still have a nun pray over the casket. Luca then arrives with a big bunch of rosemary flowers. Aw. He then pays his final respects, but before he can depart, angels come down from above. Enzo being confused because Bayonetta isn't the type of person to be going upstairs, if you know what I mean. The nun then reveals herself to be Bayonetta, this whole scene mirroring the opening scene of the game. Except, you fool, it's a double whammy. It's actually Jean dressed up as Bayonetta who's dressed up as a nun. And Bayonetta is not actually dead. I told you guys, nobody in Bayonetta ever dies. Bursts out of the casket, and her and Jean get to whipping all the angels in the area, with style of course. Luca watches in awe, and it honestly looks so funny, like and it honestly looks so funny, like it looks like he's on a Bayonetta themed acid trip. And with that, truly, like, for real this time, we've reached the end. The credit sequence is so cool and such a fantastic thing to experience yourself. It has snapshots of different moments throughout the game, but occasionally it will throw you into a gameplay section where you can play while the credits roll in the foreground. Like going back and fighting John as past Bayonetta, defending Cereza, and even just recently fighting the angels in the graveyard with John. And after, it shows a picture of John, Bayo, and Rodin and Enzo all together, with a new car for Enzo after his previous one got destroyed at the start in the game, in this same area. Look how happy it is. It's so wholesome. Like, I love this. Okay, quick correction again. No, his car got destroyed. Look, they destroyed it again. Got a new car that was destroyed. Damn. Also Luca's back there. Okay, bye. We get more credits that has Bayonetta dancing on a pole in the background, while a vintage rendition of Fly Me to the Moon plays. Shout out to everyone that worked on the music, man. They did great. From composers to vocalists, shout out to Team Little Angels in general, really. After those amazing credit sequences, we then get our results for how we did in the epilogue, and a screen showing how we did on each chapter throughout the entire game. And I don't really want to show mine. You also get this congratulations screen showing various different characters, enemies, etc. from the game. All those enemies I wish I could chokehold. You also unlock hard difficulty, which I will never touch, thank you. You also unlock the World of Bayonetta gallery, which I'll get into in a sec, as well as these handguns you can use on future playthroughs. But before we can truly get to the end, we gotta pull a 2010 animated movie and dance. The absolute banger Let's Dance Boys, another song I listened to outside the game, plays as Bayonetta just simply dances, and it's such a vibe. She'll switch between different locations set in the story, with different characters being in the background, like Enzo, some Umbra Witch background dancers, Rodin, Luca, Cereza. Is she allowed to be singing this? Bayonetta, this can get you a charge. I love how she dances along though, it's so cute. The other guys usually just stand there while Bayonetta dances in their vicinity, except for Jean, of course. When her part pops up, her and Bayonetta are in sync as they dance the night away. I love this ending bit so much, it's just so fun, and really shows that Team Little Angels loved Bayonetta. Like, they didn't need to add this section. There's no extra credits to go along with it or anything. It's just pure fun because they wanted to. And so the final shot of this game is a woman half naked. Very fitting. Now that the game is over though, it's time to show some of the bonus stuff that you unlock from, you know, finishing the game, which I had mentioned earlier. So now with the gallery unlocked, it's time to take a step through history, starting with the extras menus, where you can see stuff like all the Umbran tears of blood you got during the game. Wow, I got 25 out of 101. Now we get into the world of Bayonetta gallery, which contains such wonders as concept art, the soundtrack, model viewing, and new release, which just plays the ending dance sequence from earlier when you click on it. You know, if you want to see that again, you can. What was the most fun for me was viewing models. It's always fun to look at the characters in detail and see things on their design you may have missed. Like old Bayonetta's costume having visible nipples. What? Can I even show this? This generally jump scared me when I was looking at it. I was like, wait. Ignoring that though, they have models for all the prominent characters and their various different variations. We got regular Bayonetta, child Bayonetta, nun Bayonetta, visible nipple Bayonetta, etc. Same with John. Look at her with her little hat and also visible nipples. I could never be an Umbra witch, bro. These dress codes are insane. Then of course we got the supporting cast, which also has their regular appearances since they don't switch them up in the game. You know, nobody else really having costumes except John and Bayonetta. The real meat and potatoes, however, is getting to look at the monsters of the game. You get the beasts within forms, infernal demons, the different angels, and of course the bosses. Man, it's so good to look at these freaks of nature in detail. I hate you! Looking through the concept art was really cool as well. The characters all look great in the 2D style, and the designs artists made for them is just especially Bayonetta. I can feel her drip through the screen. Like, these designs are generally so good. I would have loved some of them as alternate costumes. They also have concept art for backgrounds and objects of the game, really giving you a lot to sink your teeth into for those who are particularly fond of just behind the scenes making stuff. Then last but not least is the sound jukebox, which contains all the music for the game and is such a great feature. From right here in the game, you have access to the songs and can play them in full right here in the game. Not only that, but it has the credits for the songs too, which is really awesome. I know a lot of people really advocate for song credits when it comes to this stuff. I'm not saying I don't. I just know there are people out there that really value that and appreciate this stuff, because yeah, people deserve credit for their hard work. Come on, Nintendo, take some notes. How are you gonna let Sega be ahead of you in the game all the way back in 2009? You know, they don't have any credits for the songs that are in the Nintendo Music app, which this 2009 Sega game had on lockdown way before then. Listen, Nintendo, you might have stomped Sega when it came to consoles, but when it comes to almost everything else except games, low-key, they do everything better. Sega fans can make passionate fan games without their life's work being taken down in a millisecond. And now this is where they had a way to listen to their music officially and credited artists. Okay, sorry for that little like side tangent. My brain just does that sometimes, a lot actually. But with that, I believe that's all I have left to cover on the game itself. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it, and I'm glad I entertained you long enough to stay and watch. Yeah, and I just really appreciate you for making it this far. This voiceover, you know, commentary stuff is a lot newer for me, and if there's like any suggestions you guys have on, you know, better ways of me telling these stories, you know, telling you about these games, you know, I'm just really passionate about, you know, games and playing them and then making these videos for you guys. You know, I want them to be the best they can be, so please, if you have any suggestions, drop them down below. Because if you made it this far, again, I must be doing at least something right, but I want to do things as best as I possibly can. But ladies and gentlemen, that's been Bayonetta. Overall, I think it's safe for me to say I had a good time with the game. Even with all the recording struggles I ran into when making it, it was a chaotic time to say the least. A highlight was definitely the characters and the game's sense of humor. It reminded me a lot of Metal Gear Rising, which I need to stop bringing up, but it's true. My favorite duo definitely has to be Luca and Cereza. Their misadventures throughout the game definitely helped me cope after every stressful boss battle. It was also great to see Bayonetta more in depth as a character, instead of that one sexy lady from Smash who was broken when she was first introduced. At least she was lore accurate. We definitely have much more of an appreciation for her now. Sure, she still has her pizzazz from Smash, but now I know her on a deeper level. She's not just all flashy dancy person. She deeply cares for the people around her, even if she doesn't really show it. She can be unsure even when it seems like she's always confident. She can be broken down just like everyone else. Her worst fear is crying cockroach babies. You know, Very in-depth. Combat was also pretty nice. Even if I wasn't the best of it most of the time, I loved the variety of weapons letting you choose your own playstyle, along with the various techniques you can learn throughout the game. I also loved we could customize Bayonetta to an extent. Any game that lets the player customize automatically gets brownie points for me, since I'm the type of player that values customization in games. Of course, it isn't needed for me to enjoy a game. I've played lots of games that don't have customization and had a blast, but I'm big into it, you know? It's why I love RPGs with character creators so much, or just let you change your clothes and armor without it affecting gameplay. Of course, transmog is on top, because like, what's the point of being able to change armor if what I choose has to be based on stats? And that's why I'm happy so many more games are implementing it, because transmog is just king. Anyway, let me get back to Bayonetta again. Another big thing, which I've mentioned a lot throughout the video, is the set pieces. So many beautiful scenery where fights will take place and made me so engaged, even if I was getting my butt kicked. Even just running around places like the Angel Realm was fun to do because of the sights, even if I wasn't the fondest of the platforming. The game is just overall looked very good for the time, I think. Comparing it to another game that came out that year that I know very well, Dragon Age Origins, which let me start by saying I love this game to death. I love the Dragon Age franchise as a whole, though I haven't played, well, in the script it says I haven't played Dreadwolf / Veilguard yet, but actually at the time of me actually like recording this, I have played like about 19 hours of Veilguard. I'm not trying to change the subject too much. It's all right. Maybe that's a video for another day, but I've played Veilguard and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. There are a lot, again, okay, I'm getting off track. Okay, I'm not saying Origins looks bad, and I've never had a problem with the graphics when playing. Like, that's never been the issue with me. I love older games. The graphics are not a problem. But looking at both it and Bayonetta, it highlights how well Bayonetta looked. Not because I think Origins looks bad, but because I think it looks good. You know, they came out in the same year, and Origins, I think it had really good art direction. I really like the art direction of Origins, and you know, comparing it with another, you know, it's just to compare like games at that time, around the same time, 2009, you know, less technologically advanced. You know, Bayonetta also looks really great and also had really great art direction. Overall, shout out to Platinum Games and Team Little Angels and Sega for backing this game and publishing it. I can safely say I recommend getting Bayonetta if you ever find it on sale one day. But yeah, I believe that's everything. But with that, I hope you guys are all doing well and you have a good day or night, and peace out. Thank you for watching.
Fish in the sea's the one for me.